Hi, this is Erin from Blossy Bee. Welcome to my channel. The plan for this video is to use the last 4 moulds from the June 2026 Resin Mold Box collection. This is the third and final part of this series, and I've been really happy with what I've made so far. If you haven't yet watched part 1 and 2, you'll find a link in the description box to them. This video is a lot longer than normal, but I really hope you enjoy it, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section. I'm so excited. I'm going to be working with several molds today. One of them is the ribbon bag. The lace stacking dish is another. Then the Starry Solstice box and the Legacy Empress crown frame. So one of them, the ribbon top jar, sort of had an idea in my head that I'd like to see what it looked like with some beads in it. So I went through last night and picked out all of these beads in what I felt were complementary colours. And I've got all of this is River Art Resin Deep Pour. It's actually the last little bit I own. It's all gone into here. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to squirt just a little bit of this Starry Sky colorant, which is Starry Sky Gold, into the resin, and then I'll give that a mix through. I haven't got my gloves on just yet because I need to not have them on for something. So just a little bit, and I hope that will give a little bit of shimmer and sparkle. And then I'm going to tip these in. Anytime I see one that sort of sticks out, I'm like, oh, you're out. I'm going to pop these into here and give them time to get thoroughly coated with resin and get any bubbles out. As for how many I made, it's really hard to know. Okay. Just going to push those down and around. Lots of little bubbles coming up. I'll just give that a quick squirt of isopropyl alcohol, and then I'll leave that there and move on to the next one. So the next one is going to be the Solstice little container and lid, and I want to use a purple alcohol ink, and I've got 3. I've got deep magenta, violet and purple quartz. So I've just got a little dish of water here, and I'm going to give them a good shake, and then just a little squirt so I can actually, so this one is Solid Solutions Deep Magenta. Okay, next is Solid Solutions Violet. They're all Solid Solutions. I don't need to keep saying that. Okay, so that's interesting. I'm hoping it shows on the screen. I'll do another drop. That has a funny reaction and shows up lots of little fragments. So I'm going to take that one out of the running. And lastly, we've got purple quartz. And that does the same. Okay, so that answered itself for me. So the colour I'm going to be using is Deep Magenta. Now, I'm also going to be making the little stacking tray, and I want to try and colour this one with some really pretty green and pinks around the edge. So I've got pink, that is very pink. I've got boysenberry, that's a really pretty colour, and then I've got evergreen. Okay, I think I'm going to go boysenberry and evergreen. I love the pink, but I think it's just too much contrast, so I'll put the pink away. Okay, so that's great. I've got all the colours I need there. So I'll pop my gloves on, and with the ribbon jar, I'm going to pour in a little bit of mostly clear resin just to fill in the top. The neck is too narrow for the beads to go in. I mean, if any go in, they're welcome to. So I just thought that I would add some of this lovely sparkle to a little bit of resin here. So we'll go with that same Starry Sky Gold. Give that a good shake and just give these another little poke. Definitely see lots of bubbles have come to the surface and dissipated, which is great. That's the reason I use this resin. Okay, so give this one a little stir. It looks so pretty. Okay, I'll give this a little squish. Now, my goal is to pour right on top of the centerpiece in the hope that it just goes straight down to the lip. Just pouring slowly. Of course, resin from here will naturally drizzle down and also fill this, but I just wanted to try and make the little top piece a little bit extra special. Okay. Just going to lift it up and look at it from the side. Perfect. So I've got a little bit of that left over. And now, time to start getting these in. So I'm trying to get out more of the beads than resin. When you're pulling apart old jewellery like this, necklaces and bracelets and whatnot, sometimes they have little metal attachments to them, especially the older ones. So I made sure I went through last night and pulled all of those off, and just to make sure that the ones I'm dealing with are as clean as possible. Okay, all right, I'm just going to let that sit for a few minutes and come back to it. Okay, so the next one I want to do is the lid of the solstice jar. Now this one, I've got all these pre-measured and I've written on them what they are. This one is going to have a teeny tiny bit of Starry Sky colorant in the purple, and I'm following Ella's suggestion from Resin Mold Box about filling the top with a mainly clear colour and then backfilling with a darker colour. So I'm hoping it looks pretty. Now I can't really see anything in there yet. I think I'll just have to trust that it's there. I have approximately zero confidence that I'm going to be able to pour this without bubbles. Okay, I've got it about half full. So let's have a look. I've got to actually put my fingers underneath, and I just squeezed out a nice big fat air bubble. That's a little bit rewarding, and another one coming behind it. Or am I creating air bubbles? I don't know. I think they're going to be unavoidable with a mould that's sort of this intricate. Now I just want to come up to where there are some intricate sort of symbols on the side and no further. So I think I've done that successfully. I'm just going to rotate it around just to make sure. Now I can see some of that purple shimmer. That's beautiful. Yep, okay. Look, it's one of those things. It either is or it isn't. Bubble free, I mean. So that one is now right to sit aside to either cure or get to a gel state, and then I can backfill it with a matching colour. Okay, this one is for the base, and this one is the one I want to do with deep magenta. And so here is the base, that's the way it will go, and I'll give that a little spritz and try and get it down there. This also has a lot of detail, and this one I'm going to work with the purple, no, deep magenta. We worked out deep magenta is the one, alcohol ink, and I think I just want to tint it. And I know I sound really tentative, and that's because I am. I'm really out of my comfort depth working with alcohol ink. So I can see that it's sort of staining on the side. And the reason I've put white paper on here today is because I'm worried I'm not going to be able to see what I've done. So that looks super light. It's more of a suggestion than a colour. So we'll go one more drop. Okay, and we'll put some of the purple in. I'm just realising now I could have actually used the leftover from the other, but I've got lots of uses for leftovers today. Okay, let's see how we're going now. It still looks very light. I'm going to double what I've done, and I could regret it, but I'll only learn by trying, won't I? And we're not talking about life or death, we're talking about colour choices in resin, and it's going to be pretty no matter what. Okay, that is ready to pour. I'm loving this. And then my plan is when I do the backfill, I was going to try and use the same alcohol ink, but darker. Can see a little bubble every now and then from my mixing just then, but I'm hoping that will just work its way to the top. The benefit of using a deep pour resin for this is its incredibly long working time, and the longer the working time, the more opportunity the resin has to, I was going to say degas, I'm not sure if that would be technically correct at this stage, but to allow bubbles to come up to the top. All right, going to be teeny tiny little bit short, but I'm wondering if that is fate, because then I could also put the same colour on the bottom. We might be onto something. Let's just see. I was pondering on a thought the other day, and that is, are resin makers, people who use resin regularly, some of the most frugal people out there? And by that I mean most of us scrape our cups to within an absolute inch of their lives, and you know, treat the resin as if it's just this absolutely precious, expensive liquid, which it is. But yeah, it was just sort of thinking about different kinds of hobbies and things, and some, of course, like for example, when you use your Cricut or any other cutting machine, when you use vinyl, you'll know that there's so much waste, so much, and sometimes it's upsetting. And I've spent hours with a fairly simple design, but then trying to jam as many other small little things onto the same sheet of vinyl, because it just doesn't sit well with me that, you know, we're going to waste that much material. So that's what got me, I think, thinking that, you know, we do typically, people using particularly epoxy resin, absolutely scrape everything and save everything. All right, I can't show you the side of that without a catastrophe, so that one can go there. All right, I think we should revisit the bee, and they're looking super pretty from the outside, but it's hard to know, isn't it, how far they've been able to move down and whether it'll look reasonable or silly. Or okay, I'll give that a squirt. Now the resin is about 5 mil off the top, and I'm not going to put any more in. The reason being that during the curing process, some of these may pop up a little bit to the surface and cause, you know, a bumpy surface. So I wanted to make sure that I can just put a little bit of probably clear over and get that up to a really smooth top. So sit that one there. Okay, now the stacking dishes. I'm just trying to think. So for the stacking dishes, I'm going to use a white pigment paste because I want a matte finish. It's the titanium white from Solid Solutions, and this is our dishes pot. You don't need much of this. I'm just going to give it a quick stir. These pots are so inexpensive, and I know some other brands that absolutely have magnificent colours. They just come in such big pots, and over time they can dry out, and or you might not like the colour or something. So I'm loving the fact that these are just so great to work with. They're small. If you need to use more, you just buy another one. I'll put a link to them in the description. You'll be amazed at the low cost as well. Okay, and with this, I'm going for a milky appearance, not a totally flat white. So get a clean stick, give that a stir, and then we can have a look. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. That's really pretty actually. All right, so the base is just going to be, oh, should I have done that because I'm planning on using alcohol ink? I don't know what the answer is. So I'll just start with the little base. Okay, whoop, perfect. And I'll pop a lid on that. All right, so let me think. Do I put a little bit of clear down? What have I got? I've got a little bit of the one I had for the solstice lid. Yeah, I kind of wish I hadn't put that down now, but anyway. I have just sort of spread out a little bit. Yeah, I wish I hadn't done that because I would like to practice dropping ink just onto straight silicone. And I've sprayed alcohol again. Yeah, see, I'm sort of committed to getting that like that now, aren't I? Anyway, doesn't matter. All right, so I am so nervous. Okay, I know these drops come out quite quickly. Oh, I'm shaking. Come on. Oh. Okay, so this is looking so awful already. But anyway, look, trust the process. That's what they say. So now, if I squirt them with alcohol, they should move a bit, shouldn't they? Okay, not really. This is so bad. Okay, we'll just go teeny, teeny, teeny. Okay, and put just a bit of green in the middle. Okay, look, it is what it is. It's, to me, it's like a weird science experiment, and it's just yucky and splodgy, but it could come out, you don't know. So I'm definitely going to pour just in the middle to try and encourage symmetry. Actually, now I've seen that, I'm not sure that I want to encourage symmetry. I think I'd like to encourage something else. If I sort of do loops. Okay, I'm just making this up as we go along, completely having no idea what we're doing. I'm just so far out of my comfort zone, I've got no idea. All right, let's have a little look. My goodness, that was so stressful. Tess, you're not helping. Okay, wow. Well, that's definitely a case of whatever it's going to be. Just checking this one and this one. That one looks good. All right. Okay, our next one is this huge heart. And look, now I've done that, I sort of want to do that again because it's really pretty. But maybe not with, maybe I'll stick to purples and pink. Where is the pink? Deep magenta. Just changing things up on the fly here. All right, so I've got lots of clear resin left over. Or do I do this one? I'm going to do this one like without putting resin, and then that's a bit of a test, isn't it? Okay, so we'll start off with the boysenberry, and that can be the end of it. picture those. I'm just shaking so much. It is also very difficult for me because I don't have full strength in my hand to sort of do that easily. Now I know that you are not meant to let these sort of dry out. I've got to try and speed up a little bit. Okay, so pink. That'll be the end of this mould as far as staining's concerned, I'm sure. I'm not expecting any precision here, by the way. Pink, maybe a bit here. And now we've got our deep magenta. So a bit of a gap there. I've just joined two colours together because why not? And then what do I do about that edge? Do I try and go a bit fancy and put a bit of gold in? I've got this metallic alcohol ink. Let's have a look. Okay, I found two which could work. I've got a ruby red and a red golden. So I might give the red golden sort of a bit of a splash. Surely a bit two-handed job. I wonder if I cut the top off a bit more. Okay, and then ruby red. I hope this is not a stupid mistake because I don't really want ruby red, but it doesn't really look like ruby red. Boy, what a mess. Okay, look, it'll be what it'll be. Purple's pretty. Okay, so I'm going to put in the clear. Am I going to put the clear in first or that bit of white that I had left? I think I'll make some more white with this. Okay, I feel like that could be good. And I might as well mix that in. And this is going to sound crazy, but I'm just wondering if I put some of these in. Gosh, I've got a mess going. If I put these in, is the resin going to sink in under? This could be the worst decision of the day. So the alcohol ink might stain the beads. I'm sorry, this is just so awful. Whoop, that one didn't even get anywhere. Goodness, this is just terrible. Well, look, some people need a daily giggle, and if I can help provide that, then yay. It's just awful. Okay. Of course it went over there. My goodness. Okay. This is just like a comedy of errors now. Speaking of comedies, I was watching, it should be a bit difficult to give context, but I was watching something the other day and they mentioned the actress who was in the original The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, and I don't think I knew that there was an original Ghost and Mrs. Muir. I knew the one that was on air in the 60s, and our family absolutely adored that show. And I remember, you know, the final scene just leaving me totally sobbing and bereft and all of those things. But I watched the final scene of the movie and it was beautiful. There was just a little clip on YouTube and I was like, I miss that show so much. And guess what? I found it on YouTube. It's awful quality, but it's the show. I think there are 2 seasons and it is just as beautiful and captivating as it was when I was growing up, and I'm so happy I've rediscovered it. It's just amazing. Let me know in the comments if you have any idea what I'm talking about. And yeah, look, it was one of those shows. There was another one called The King and I with Yul Brynner, and they just were so captivating. I could probably spend all day rattling off TV shows that I grew up with, but look, I'll throw a few out there and we'll just see in the comments who knows any of them. So our family, of course, was a massive British TV fan. That was, you know, like a given. And so I grew up just adoring Are You Being Served and Frank Spencer, The Good Life, did I say? Yes, I said, are you being served? Some others do have them. Then there was like F Troop, I think that came out of America. And what else? The goodies. Goody, goody, yum, yum. And oh my goodness, I mentioned before, we only had 3 channels when I was little, but those channels packed a big punch. And yeah, just love them. Anything with Penelope Keith was wonderful. And then I think as I got older, there was Keeping Up Appearances with Miss Bouquet. And of course, sayings from all of these have stayed with me my whole life. And I just love it. And yeah, so let me know in the comments if you watched any of those. I'm sure I've missed some incredible ones too. And if there's any that you think I should catch up on 50 years later, I'd love to know. But yes, being reunited with the Ghost and Mrs. Muir has been very magical. Just the last couple of days, it's been a little bit rainy here, and I've been, you know, quite a bit flat, and so it was just magical to watch. Now, these beads are annoying me. I'm sure they don't mean to, but the fact is that they do. So that one I need to leave, but this one, I think, hang on, are you two gonna swap? No, you've got to come out. And you're not gonna come out without a fight, are you? There we go. I would say that the back on this is now going to be a slight disaster, but that's okay. I haven't quite filled the mould, and I'm highly doubtful that I'll get all that detail, which is a shame because that means we're not getting to see it at its full potential. But look, it was a little bit fun, so what can you say? Stop, probably. Probably what you can say. Yeah. All right, so I do have, this is just terrible, my white paper is no longer. I do have some leftovers, and I wanted to see if I could do the umbrella stand mold again, but I haven't yet washed it. So let me think. Got a teeny bit of that. I've got actually nothing in there. I've got more, so that's fine. I'm not short. Okay, well, I am short. I'm 152 centimetres, but I'm not short of this. All right, I'm just wondering what else I can do with the alcohol ink, and I feel like I've just lost the plot now, so nothing matters, does it? So, okay, so there's a little bit white. So remember, we're fighting against already this being a dirty mould. And which colour did I like the best? Deep magenta. Maybe might do it that one actually. So we'll go that. So that's deep magenta, boysenberry. Deep magenta, sorry, I've got them back the front. Okay, and then I should put some sparkly. I'll put the gold. No, I'll put the purple. Oh, I've used it all. Thank you for your service. I will try and order some more of these. They were just off Temu, but they've been so pretty. Okay, so then we'll just go a bit of clear, and I put purple in, but that didn't have purple, did it? Well, it does now. Green, a little bit of white. I'm going to cap the purple and just stick to these two, and I can't really now, can I? I'm terrible. So indecisive. And deep magenta. If you're feeling aggravated, please turn off. I don't blame you. Okay, that's the 3 colours. And then we want some white. Okay. And a bit of the purple. That is looking like a pansy, and I wish I could make pansies. So I presume these colours will just all mix and it'll come out brown, which is sad, but anyway, I'm having fun. Got a bit crazy on that one. I might put a little bit of white between. How much alcohol is too much alcohol in? I just put them all in together there. It'll be a brown base. Okay, and I'm going to try and finish it up with white. Perfect. Now, okay, the umbrella stand. Just going to push my leveling table back a bit. So we need purple. Do I try and make it matching? Is that going to be ridiculous? Okay, for better or for worse, we are done. So I'll put just a teeny tiny dribble. That, and then I really don't want to overfill this because it needs to join together, and I think that is about right. Okay, what have I got left? Quite a bit. I'm working with dirty molds, so I might as well do this one. This is our little moon. It has still got colouring on it from when I cast it in an eco casting powder. So I'm going to put a little bit of that in there. I want to sort of speed this up. Question to self, can you layer these colours? So I'm going to find my green and boysenberry and go squirt. The resin's thickening to the point that I need to use it. Okay, really very colourful, is it? Okay, these have now reached a definite gel state or even more. If you can hear a noise, I've got the Resiners G3 curing machine going in the background. It is rainy and fairly cool today, so some of my pieces need a little extra boost. If you are wondering what this crazy science experiment is, it's just because of the weather. So I've put some warm to hot water in a little Pyrex dish. Then I've put part A and part B of the solid solutions 4-hour fast cure resin that I'm using into each of these, and then just to protect the container and the paper, I have wrapped some aluminium foil. Now some of you will be saying, oh, it's not aluminium, it's aluminum. Aluminum. Oh! Anyway, we call it aluminium in Australia, as is evident by the fact I can't say the other. So, aluminum. There you go. And what I'm going to do now is mix those two together so they are much more, look at that, much runnier, for want of a better word, than if I hadn't warmed up the resin. I don't love doing it this way because I think it wastes resin. You've got part A and part B bits in a cup. But when the weather is colder, or if you need a lower viscosity, then this is the way to go. Now, being a 4-hour cure, obviously I'm going to have a way less of a working time, and so I need to move reasonably quickly. It's just a small amount, so I'm just going to stir it by hand. There's no streaks or little trails of unmixed resin in there. Get a little splash. Now, before I separate it, I'm going to pop in some of this Starry Sky Gold, and that's the end of that one. Farewell, mix that in. Just adds the slightest little shimmer and a bit of extra sort of interest. Okay, so this can go straight into this one. So remember, this little last layer is just to make sure that there are no uneven surfaces from the beads. And to give it a nice smooth base. So we're not wanting to add any colour or anything, just to fill it right up to the top. I'm just bobbing down regularly to look at it across the top. That gives me a better idea of how it's going. Alright, now this one we are going to use the deep magenta again, which is what we used to colour this part. And remember, in this it's basically clear, just with a little bit of that gold Starry Night sparkle. And this one we need to be quite intense. So that's not. Gosh, it's still very light. I mean, I know it's not going to be opaque, but I just don't know how this much alcohol ink is going to affect the resin, but I'll only learn by trying. Okay, I'm going to pour this into a fresh cup so that I don't have any residue, and I'll swap over my stirring stick as well. And I'm not going to scrape this out at the moment. I will to use this up, but I want to try and keep this as free from any sort of little alcohol ink residue as I can. Okay, I definitely think that's a good depth of colour. So all I'm going to do is pour it in under here. Now I'm going to have to be super careful, because if I go poking in there to try and minimise air pockets and air bubbles, I could hurt the clear layer. Okay, this is interesting. So it is going into some areas, but not others. I feel like these types of moulds are my arch nemesis. So I'm hoping you can see this is good, where it's gone to the edge here. This is not good. So I need to get a little tool and gently lift up the edges. So let me think. Okay, this might be a little odd, but I'm wondering if I grab the side and pull it up, that help? And the answer is yes, but to what extent? Big bubble came up there. I don't want to scratch the mould, and I don't want to disturb the clear layer underneath. Alright, well that's got a little bit more in. If anyone has a suggestion for getting these sort of moulds filled to the corners, look, please share it. It's a constant sort of a bugbear of mine, and it's the reason I've stopped using quite a few moulds too, to be honest, because I don't trust them. I don't trust my skills in getting perfect corners, so then I probably think to myself, oh, I'm not going to bother, and it's a shame. It's just not really what I want to spend my time doing though, you know, getting in there and really being fiddly with moulds. Takes away a lot of the enjoyment, for me anyway. I'm not convinced, but I've got a little patch under there, but I'm not sure how that could be. Definitely. So there's a bubble coming up here. My preference also would be to use a deep pour or a longer curing time resin for these, but time is against me. See, I don't know if there's resin in under there at all. Imagine doing this in clear. You'd be completely in the dark. Alright, I think that's probably as good as I'm going to get it. I'm definitely going to have little micro bubbles along those edges, but I can deal with those after demoulding. I just want to give the best chance possible. I know some of you have been so generous with your comments and suggestions and talking about how other artists use UV resin to sort of patch up things, but because I'm doing this in such a dark, distinctive colour, I don't think that's going to be an option. I might just babysit it for a few minutes after I turn the camera off and see how we go. With the leftover resin, I'm just going to use this little teddy mould or bear mould, bear with a heart mould. No, this is a baby capybara. That's not what I meant to get, but I love it. There's no reason why a capybara can't be purple, or so I've heard. Okay, I'll get that in and then give him a little squish. You can see some air bubbles coming up straight away. Fancy mistaking him for a bear. I'll swap to our first cup now, and this resin is really heating up and getting very thick. I'm not sure if you can see the difference in the consistency now, so you don't get a lot of time to muck around with this. I wonder if muck around is an Australian, or because Australia was settled by Europeans originally from the UK, it could be a word that's common in the UK as well. I'm not sure, but for me, muck around, if I was going to muck around with something, it just means fiddling around with something, playing with something, but not being too purposeful or too precious. So as kids, if you were going to just muck around outside, you just went outside and aimlessly played, just had fun. Whatever you ended up doing was great. So yeah, when I say you haven't got time to muck around, I mean you haven't got time to be relaxed and playful, because it's curing, or the exothermic reaction that is needed to cure has started, and the warmer the resin, the faster that process will be. In fact, I've heard of some people putting their resin in the fridge if they live in a hot country to try and cool it down. I don't know whether that works or not, and I prefer that you don't quote me on that, or put all your best resin in the fridge and then something catastrophic happens. You'd have to be very careful that it was against moisture, wouldn't you? But temperature has such a huge part in resin, and often get asked about some, you know, basic problems that people run into, and often it's to do with temperature. It's either that their workspace is too hot or too cold, or they, for example, the curing machine, for me, look, I absolutely love my Resiners G3 and use it all the time, but I rarely put bakes in there straight away. Or if I do, I don't usually turn it on. I usually give it a couple of hours just to let the resin do its thing, and then help it along a bit with the temperature. So I'm not going to have quite enough but my goodness, it is so close. I could easily fix this by getting a clear glass stone and dropping it in. That would fix it straight away, but I'm not that fussed. It just makes him a little bit shorter than the average capybara, and I'm all about inclusivity, so he's welcome. It doesn't matter. All right, I think that is it. Okay, so looking forward to demolding these later. When I say demolding quickly, it just doesn't sound right. Demolding, ripping these out of their silicone molds and getting a look at them. Wow, I kind of didn't remember that I made this much, but here we go. Demolding time. I've got a band-aid on my finger because I grated it. The handheld grater the other night when I was making my veggie tacos. Anyway, it's like a paper cut. It's significantly more horrible than it should be. Okay, the first one I'm going to demold is this monstrosity. Now, I call it a monstrosity because, well, A, because it is, but B, unfortunately, I don't know if you can see down here, I can already see that I just was so rushed when I was pouring it. I've done a terrible job. So anyway, I need to get it out of the mould because at some stage I would like to try and do it justice. So this is the one, if you recall, I ended up putting some beads in that were left over from the ribbon top jar, and so I ended up changing my mind on how I was going to do it just right as I went, which is probably not a good idea, but anyway, my goodness, this is super tricky to get out. That's really suctioned in there. I've never seen a mould that's like that on the inside or the backside. Look, boy. Okay, I actually really like it. So there's a little teeny sort of a fracture there and a large one there. Look at all the details around the edge, the little pieces that are part of the mould. The beads didn't really show up, but yeah, so if I could repair that, repair or cover it up, and the same here. Okay, it's not, I mean, it's definitely not something I would love, but in my mind, I had, you know, if you were a little, I don't know, 6 or 7 year old girl and you wanted a photo frame of your favourite pet rabbit or something. Interesting. Sit that. I'll just move it up to there. Okay, so little extras. These are just alcohol ink extras, which I could turn into magnet. I'm loving that crackled effect, and I have zero idea how I got it. Wow, I'm not loving the white, but I'm loving that crackle. Okay, our little mermaid tail, which again, just extras. That's gorgeous. That's adorable. That would look so pretty on a little dressing table or something. Okay, extras. So we had our capybara, which I thought originally was a bear, but I'm even happier that he is what he is. Oh, he's so gorgeous. So I can paint on the details there. And now this one is the little moon, and I previously cast this using solid crete, and I just loved how it came out. It's just the perfect little vessel for, you know, rings. So that bit looks great. If you recall, I had problems with the next curved piece. Look at those colours. My goodness, I'm loving that smoky sort of colour. My goodness, the end piece worked. Look at that. That is just beautiful. Love it. That is so pretty. All right, then we've got the umbrella, and this is the second time I've made this, but the first time was in solid crete, and when I started working with it, it just snapped. So these are super pliable still, but they're out and they look really pretty. I will need to just clean up the edge before I glue them together. And then this is the little umbrella stand. Okay. My goodness, I'm just loving. I don't think I've ever made anything that sort of smoky gorgeous. I feel like if I just, yes, here we go. I was going to say if I could just release one. So it has these pieces at the top that are potentially sources for air pockets, but so far, so good. My goodness, look at that. This here, it looks a little bit like oil slick. I think that's that little squirty gold that I've run out of, and I love it. Okay, that's beautiful. So how this is going to work is that these two pieces will be joined, and then, whoops, will go in there like that. There's a little spot at the bottom to glue it in, and it is just so pretty. I'm just so happy with that. I love it. Okay, this is the ribbon jar, and so drawstring, and so what that means is not that you need to put a ribbon around it or anything. It's simulating a drawstring bag already. So, and this one is the one that we put lots of beads into, but with a clear top and a clear bottom. Okay, wow, my goodness, that is just so interesting to look at. I love the top. My goodness, that was that gold Starry Night shimmer. That was a bit satisfying. Look at that. That is so gorgeous. I could just see this holding some really old-fashioned flowers, even your makeup brushes. Wow, that rim is just beautiful. I'm loving this mold. That is so pretty, and just the beads just add so much. And it's so heavy, so substantial feeling, like it's, yeah, I love it. All right, I just keep shifting things around. Okay, I am very nervous about this one because lids like this I find difficult to pour without getting any air bubbles on the edges. But we'll see. This is the one that I poured mostly clear, tiny little bit of shimmer in it, and then just did the base in a darker colour. And that was one of the suggestions that was actually on the Resin Mold Box sheet. And it's good sometimes to try those, I think, because you're doing something that's a bit different than you would normally do. Okay, I'm impressed. We have a lid, a teeny little bit of overpour there, which is just going to come off really easily, and totally smooth edges. Wow, what? That was clear. Oh my goodness. So that's a real optical illusion, isn't it? My goodness. And all of those little symbols have come out beautifully. Okay, wow, I'm very impressed. Okay, please let this one have come out. So this one we did do slightly tinted, but then a darker base, and I really don't know what to expect. This is so sharp. My grated fingers feels like it might be going to get a little fringe. I'm just going to try and brute force this one a little bit. Silicon's lovely and soft. Okay, this one is difficult for my hands. I'm just going to take it off screen and push it against my chest to try and give some leverage. That worked beautifully. There we go. My goodness. Wow. That base, I'm so glad we did that. Oh, look. Oh. That is just so pretty. Now I'm really torn because I'm assuming people would embellish the edges, and I just like it is. Wow. Okay. My goodness. This really, apart from the baseball, I'm really loving some of these molds. Okay. This is the little stand, and this was just poured completely white with the Solid Solutions Titanium White Pigment Paste, and just having to pull it again. Oh, wait. Pop! Now, that is beautiful. That is one of the most perfect things I've ever made. I know it's just a mostly hidden part of another piece, but that's just gorgeous. I can foresee some white epoxy resin pieces perhaps in my future. That's just remarkable. Okay. My goodness. I just love it. So that goes under there, and then it becomes a little elevated stand. That is just so pretty. So I've got so many things running through my mind that this could be for, but how cute would this be if this was all food safe to have as, you know, like a giant decorative cupcake serving plate, or just an adorable trinket dish, or sweets, wrapped sweets or something. I just can't get over that. So a bit speechless. That is just so beautiful. So the alcohol inks, the solid solution alcohol inks, I could not be more impressed with them. They are stunning, and like I love this and this, but I love even more when the colours are random, and you know, I've got a little bit of the white pigment paste, or a lot in this case, and these, because they're beautiful. And how did this happen? Like, that just is gorgeous. So I'm pretty sure that must have been either unmixed white pigment paste or Sinker white. I need to go back and watch my own videos. All right, I'm just delighted with all of these. Just, they all feel so beautiful. Everything's just so glossy, and that smoky colour in there is so pretty. And then this, I've described it as oil slick, but it's like a dark opalescence. That is beautiful. Just so happy. All right, I'll have to have a think about this one. I prefer not to re-pour it, and I'd prefer to try and do something so I can work with it. So I'll have a think about that and tidy up a few pieces. Overall, thrilled. Okay, I've decided I'm going to try and fill some of these little holes before I do anything else. So I've got some UV resin in here, and I'm going to tint it with the boysenberry alcohol ink, and then I'm just going to try and pop in layers, I guess. And gosh, that's a lot of colour. I might need to add a little bit more UV resin. I won't waste it because I'll pop it into a little mould. Okay, so I don't really have an idea about how I'm going to do this, so I'll pop a piece of paper towel underneath in case I am messy. And the first one I'm going to try and fill is this little one here. So just sort of feel, just even a teeny little bit like that. I was just stretching back to get a paper cup to hide that. Okay, all right, I'll grab a little torch. I was thinking about putting it back into the mould, but just don't know if that would work or not. That's great. Okay, so I've got a little bit more. Taking my glasses off so I can see a little bit better. That one I was a bit slow, so I might wipe that little extra bit off. Okay, I'm going to go in from this side this time, and is so close. Perfect. That is so good. I'll just cure that inside part again. Alright. Oh, now this one's not going to be as easy, but if we use the same principle, because I plan on covering it up, but I'd like to have some base to it. I don't know why I do this. Does anyone else move their UV light or their little torch around? It can't possibly serve a purpose. It's just silly, really. Okay, that's good. I think what I'll do is I'll just put this on a little time lapse because I want to take my time and only build it up bit by bit. So that ended up working out really well, and I did end up using a piece of tape behind where I was working just so it would give me something to build up against. Now I've decided with the little bit I've got left over, I'm going to try and decorate some of these, I guess, jewels in the crown, and I'm just literally taking the tiniest little drip and popping it on and then curing that just to add a little bit of highlight. So I'll whiz through this bit again as well. After highlighting some of the gems, I'm going to use a mould here and also a little butterfly mould just to use up the last bit of this tinted UV resin, and then I'll start thinking about how I'm going to cover up that little bump in the middle at the top. Oh, that could be pretty. Light pink. Okay, I could do 2 of those. That would cover it up quickly and easily, but it's not. Oh, actually, all right, that's another option. What colour are they? Oh, green. That's of no use whatsoever. There's dark pink hearts. I don't think. I don't think any other colour there is going to be right. And flowers. Oops. Oh, that look cute. And pink. Oh, I really like that. So maybe we go pink, pink, purple. All right. So my goal is going to be to try and get that flower there. So I've got some E6000 glue. Alright, which is that pink one, this one. Might need a little bit more. And I might benefit from using tweezers. Let's see. Okay, so far so good. This is looking so pretty now. I did go ahead and off camera put a little bead of UV resin on the back, just joining those flowers more firmly to the actual heart. So now I'm going to start working with our little extras here. These two alcohol ink hearts are very translucent, and I want to just fill in the back with some gold marker just to make it more opaque, so that when I put a magnet on the back it doesn't show through to the front. I'm going to finish each of these extra pieces off with UV DTF stickers. These are part of a collection that I designed myself using images from Creative Fabrica and had professionally printed, and I'll pop a link into the description box of the video where I first unpack these, and that'll give you all of the details. And I'm using these gorgeous little perfume bottles for the ovals, and then for the hearts with that gorgeous marbling look on it, I'm using beautiful little teacups. And then for the two alcohol ink pieces, I decided to go a little bit sort of Egyptian and use scarab beetles, and I wanted to add a little bit of extra to those ones, so I used some tiny little nail stickers. They're definitely not Egyptian in style, however I think that they look quite pretty. After finishing these pieces, it's time to glue together the handle of the umbrella. So I'm just again using E6000 glue, spreading a thin coat along and then pushing it together, setting aside to dry, and then I can fix that into its new home in the vase. To finish the little mermaid tail off, I just took the silver chrome marker and really lightly went around the edges just to add a little bit of extra sparkle. And now I'm going to use UV resin and put a top coat onto each of the little hearts and ovals. These are going to become fridge magnets, and off camera I also will go ahead and glue on little magnets to the back, and these just turned out so pretty. I'm really loving the effect of the alcohol inks with these. Next little job is to secure the umbrella handle into the pot, and I just get a little dab of glue on the end of my stick, pop it into the bottom and then sit the handle in there. And I do end up using some paddle pop sticks to crisscross around it to keep it straight while that glue is curing. Next, the little capybara gets some silver highlights, his little ears, his little eyebrows and facial features, and then his paws or feet. I think feet. So what started out as just aiming to work on 4 moulds turned into an awful lot of pieces. I'll show you some photos in a moment. These are photos I've taken of the items, but I've used AI to generate pretty backgrounds for them. Well, apart from this one, these are all of the little magnets I've made. Next, we've got our gorgeous little mermaid tail and our little capybara. Then I made the little moon trinket dish again and the little umbrella vase, and they both look so cute. Here is the little stand and dish. I'm just showing it as something in the bathroom at the moment. Then the gorgeous drawstring bag vase mold with all of the beads in it and that gorgeous shimmering rim. Then we've got the crown frame mold, and this one I think I mentioned in the video, I could just imagine it in a little girl's room with a picture of their favourite pet in it, and yeah, that looks really lovely. Then last but not least, we have our little celestial lantern, and I've shown this one with a little LED tea light in it, and just loving all the details. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. I will put links to everything used in the description box below. And of course, if you'd like to purchase any of these molds or indeed the entire kit, you can use my discount code and have as much fun as I have had with all of these. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.